Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden, and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. Today, we're going to take a look at the Tangle 96X. This is brought to us by, it's a grid pattern, really, really neat, brought to us by CZT Mina Hsaio. And forgive me if I have mispronunciated that. All right, so this is a grid pattern, as I mentioned, and let's see if I can... I'm going to try to do like a 4 square on here. I'm not going to do the pencil lines, but let's just do a little 4 square on my little bijou tile. Okay, so once you have your grid, and I let me mention this also. This one is kind of neat because it doesn't have to be a grid pattern like this. It could be just, a straight pattern, but starting with a square at the very minimum. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put crosses through these squares. So we're going to go diagonal. And what I like to do if you are working in a bigger grid like this is I go from intersection to intersection. So starting at that corner and working to the intersection. Because sometimes my grid patterns are not so hot. So this makes it easy. And just in case, that way I'm not drawing a complete straight line all the way across and then missing that intersection. All right. So once we have that, the next step is, and I'm going to take, let's see, I think I'll take maybe each box at a time. Maybe. We'll just see here. No, we'll maybe take it one step at a time. That sounds better. All right. So, this one, it starts off with kind of a fancy C is what I'm going to call it. Now, the reason that Mina called this a 96X is that it kind of has a 9 and a 6 and an X. So we have the X's. And if you think about it, and I'm going to turn my tile here so I can draw this. I'm going to call it a fancy C because I do like to stick within our 5 elemental strokes. So that's why I'm going to call this a fancy C. But, so working in this triangle, we're going to do this essentially in each triangle. But doing a fancy C, and I'm going to, it's going to have a big curve. That's why I call it fancy. And then coming down here, so we're kind of doing this curve, butting up against this part of the X, and then traveling along that grid line down to the next, almost to the corner, bringing it up and around, to kind of a little bit of a spiral. So as you can see, so this would be a 9, and, well, that's not so much of a 6, but it's an upside down 9. All right. Let's see. And I actually added a little bit of extra to this little curve, but that's all right. So let's do that in each. So looking at it this way, we're going to do it at the top of every box in that top quadrant. And again, I like to do it this way because then I also don't have to move my tile so much. And also I run the risk... I reduce the risk of missing something. All right. So now we have that. We're going to do the same thing. So just turn your tile. And I was just thinking, I think you need to bring it down a little bit, just looking at the steps ahead. And by the way, in the comment section, you will find a link to the step outs. And I will also, in the comment section, put a link to the entry on one of my favorite websites. Actually, next to Zentangle.com, this is my favorite website for finding tangles and information on tangles and Zentangle is tanglepatterns.com. So I'll put a link to the entry there, and then again turning the tile. Same process here. Because that way you can see the neat ironwork that inspired this tangle. There's always an inspiration for a tangle. And then what we do, or those, you don't have to be a certified Zentangle teacher to do this, is we deconstruct the pattern into the elemental strokes that we have, which are a curved line, straight line, curved line in the shape of a C. There's also the curved line in the shape of an S. What did I say? Straight line, S, C, orb, and a dot. So those are our 5 elemental strokes. So having it fit within there, and then also keeping the number of those strokes in any particular tangle to, like, say 3 or less, having minimal steps, and having this repetition. That is what makes Tangle. There's more information, of course, on Zentangle and on Tangle patterns about what it is. What constitutes a tangle versus a pattern. All right, now, next step, once you have all this, and hey, doesn't that look neat already? The next step is we're going to draw some little straight lines, and I knew I should have kept these a little bit further apart, but oh well. This is one of the fun things about Zentangle is you do it, and as you do it, and you realize, oh, I should have maybe done this, and then, the next time we just do it a little different. All right, so we're going to draw a series of straight lines, and let me start maybe here first. So in these big sections, so from the intersection, and if you can kind of see about halfway, we're going to draw a straight line up about halfway, and then back down, coming right to where we drew those curved lines. And we're going to do that on both sides of that line. And then we're also going to do it here, on this side, in between here. This is where I said, oh, I should have drawn that just a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Sometimes there's, really neat things that happen when you draw things small. And then on the opposite side, so continuing diagonally, sometimes it's just as easy to, just finish that diagonally like that. And, we can do that for all the sides, because it's, again, what's beautiful about this is it's rinse and repeat, as I like to say. So we're doing a 2 straight lines in aiming, so that way your peak is right there at the middle, and then come down, coming right there at the top of, or close to it, of your fancy C. And then, let's see. So you could do all of this direction first. So on this one, the same idea. And you can start anyway, just on these lines. We are essentially kind of drawing a diamond shape, but again, sticking to our elemental strokes, I like to call it 2 straight lines. And then, and I'm going to flip this here so that way my hands aren't running into each other. And actually, sometimes I will, I pick up my pen and move it so that way you have a little bit of control. You can kind of see where you're at, like that. All right, now on the other diagonal lines, same idea. This is one of those really neat patterns that looks so intricate and is so impressive looking. Oops, almost forgot that little guy right there. But when you get right down to it, and it's not necessarily that difficult to do, unless of course you do like I've done here, and I made it really small. And that's somewhat a matter of having a nice fine pen. I'm actually using a brown. No, I'm sorry, forgive me. Nope, sepia pen. I'm trying to use it up. It's so close to black when you do them next to each other that I'd rather just use black. And the brown is a much different, it's a much lighter color. And so I'm just trying to use this one up. But you can see just how neat this one looks as it's getting to completion. And I think I got all of the things in the right place, but just a series of straight lines in the right places and fancy C's, as I'm calling them. And we have a really beautiful, intricate design. Now, ways in which you can shade. And I don't think I have this on the step out, but in her, actually I should add it to the step out because it is in hers. One nice thing to do, and I say this, but there are many ways you can shade it, and you might have a better idea, and always, you can feel free to try anything, because you could shade the whole design if you wanted to, but I think it is neat. There's a couple patterns like this where it's just neat to so you have these these divided bits, and just adding some graphite just to one side, and then it helps to have a tortillon with a nice tip, because we're just essentially coloring this in. We're not really working towards a gradient or anything. And for these little ones, I don't even have to, well, I did put some graphite here, but you almost don't even need to, because the graphite gets left on the tip. And so sometimes I will do the bigger sections first. And I don't want to do like this, because then it's going to mash that tip down. And let's do over here. And I do like to do the same side, just because that's what I like to do, and that's what I see a lot of times, is just having that consistency, because it adds to the overall look. And then turning the tile, so now I have these fresh set. I'm going to, so I've done them on the right side, so I'm turning to these blank ones, and I'm going to continue to do them on the right side. Now you could be thinking, ooh, could I color those in? Well, of course you can. In the methodology of Zentangle, if you're focusing on it being for the meditative or mindful aspect of it, I didn't do those little ones in there. Let's see if I can get those. We focus on just, black, white, and shades of gray, because then we don't have to think. No planning, no thinking, or I should say limited, not no, but, very limited. So you can just, take your tile, put your four corners, your border, have decided what tangle you're going to do, and just go. And again, not have to really worry or think about anything. So there we have it. Is that not, I don't know. It's quaint is the word that comes to my mind. But again, it's such a fascinating tangle to do. It's so impressive to look at, but not so difficult to do. And I love, love, love these kind of tangles. So I hope you enjoyed. And, here's, I did pair this with, I have another one that I was finishing that I did really, really tiny, but I've put that in a pile of tangles to do, to finish, because I made it really, really small. I did want to show it off, but that's okay. But here, so I paired this one with the Tangle Zenith. This was during a class, and I did this kind of like in a row. I had thought I was going to do it in between, but then I decided not to. But it is something that you could do if you wanted to have a nice border. So anyway, so with that, I hope you enjoyed. Happy tangling.